Hell in the Land of the Morning Calm, Chapter 8, The Incheon Landing. 11 weeks had passed since the North Korean invasion. Though pushed into a corner, we had been able to secure the perimeter around Busan. Confident of our position there, General MacArthur decided it was time to launch a counter-offensive. Incheon was chosen as the place for the invasion, but that harbor city on the northwest coast of South Korea offered its own challenges. Because of the tricky tides and shallow water, General MacArthur would have only a few hours to get his troops in, unload all the supplies, and get back out again. If they didn't get out before the tide went out, all the landing craft would be stuck on the mud flats and become sitting ducks for the enemy artillery and mortars. Because of the short time in which the harbor is passable, the communists apparently didn't expect the landing to take place there. But General MacArthur decided to take the gamble, and it paid off in what had been described as one of the greatest military achievements of all time. The American X-Corps landed safely in Incheon Harbor on September 15, 1950. Under the brilliant leadership of our young regimental commander, Colonel Michaelis, excuse me, I don't know how to say that. Anyway, General Walker's use of the 27th Division Wolfhounds as, quote, the fire brigade continued to be extremely successful. With the Busan perimeter secured, the division started moving west, retaking Battle Mountain and then turning north for the drive toward the 38th parallel, the North Korean border, in conjunction with the landing of the X-Corps at Incheon. The troops of the 27th Regiment, like all others in the 8th Army, were eager for the kill. They wanted this drive to end the war so they could get out of the battle lines by Christmas. The first American foot soldiers to finally cross the Han River into North Korea were the 3rd Battalion of the famed 27th Wolfhound Regiment. Riflemen of Item and Love companies climbed into their green assault boats and rowed their way across the river, which was 260 yards wide at the beachhead point. Lieutenant Colonel Richard W. Keyes of Houston, Texas, was the commander of the 3rd Battalion, which made the crossing. When Colonel Keyes' battalion slipped away from the south bank at 6:15 a.m. under a heavy artillery and tank barrage, they left behind a sign pointing north. It said, "One way. Wolfhound Blue is here to stay." Our battalion followed the 3rd Battalion across the Han River, and the drive to take North Korea was on in earnest. We would be in for many surprises as the war expanded into North Korea. We had taken for granted that we would be greeted by a very hostile population in North Korea. We knew that the communists would have spared no effort in propagandizing the people against Americans. For the first couple of days after we crossed into North Korea, the people seemed very standoffish, but soon the word began to spread before us and things changed drastically. They had seen for themselves that we did not rob, rape, and kill as they had been told that we would do. Suddenly, the roads were crowded with refugees streaming south to escape the communists. As we advanced to the north, the refugees began to return to their homes behind us, thinking that the communists were defeated. Moving steadily north, we found the word had spread before us that the American GI was an easy touch for children. We were met at each village by children begging for food and anything they could trade for food. Many of the little boys who had lost their parents were taken in by the GIs as mascots or houseboys. It was not practical for them to take little girls, as they would have no way to care for them or give them the privacy they would require. The little boys performed many useful tasks, such as shining boots, cleaning web equipment, and such. For such tasks, they were paid, of course. The little guys learned a lot of valuable things and made a lot of money. Many of these little boys have become leaders in present-day Korea. I met one mayor of a city on my last tour of Korea who was one of these houseboys. By this time, we had driven well into North Korea. The Korean winter had started. We were to discover that the weather was going to be our worst enemy. End of chapter 8.